I did all of that talking and you didn't hear me. So let's try this again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh, Glad to have you here in the building with me this evening. And I am excited for tonight's topic. We're going to continue talking about brainstorming because the Quip Brainstorm Blueprint is a tool, but I'm walking through some of the techniques that you can use as you use it as a guide. And today we're going to be all about how to understand and how to get our creative ideas out, what techniques we can use to do so, and just be really good at really good at getting ourselves ready to move to the next stage. We're going to do something a little different tonight. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. But before I do that, I want to say welcome to Roy, Tech Troublemaker. And you are good at following directions. You just want to pretend that you're not, because the work you do and the fact that you have a thriving YouTube channel uh, helps me to know that you're saying one thing, but you're doing another. And yes, I was muted. So thank you all. Of course, welcome to the Emotional CEO. So glad to have you in the building. And I see Miss Inanea is out there serving. Two of our moderators are here. Just so you know, one of our moderators I don't expect to see today because of some things that are going on, but you guys continue to greet each other and let's get into it. I'm going to talk about this idea of brainstorming again and moving us along here. I just did something on my computer, y'all. I just did something dumb. I did. I did. Um, so let me just say the first topic I'm going to talk about is just saying why brainstorming matters because we all have ideas and we're really good at making random lists, putting them down wherever we happen to think of something, voice recording, video recording, writing it on a piece of paper. But that's just getting ideas out of our head. It's not actual brainstorming in a structured way that lead us to achieving our goals. So we all have dreams, we all have objectives, we all have goals, and there are things that we want to reach in our business, in our careers, in our family, in the community service and nonprofit volunteer roles that we serve in. And it doesn't matter what your position is, whatever leadership you're in, these will work. We have need great ideas to support the vision that we have and brainstorm and help us to tap into our creativity for ourselves along with those that we work with, we volunteer with, the teams that we serve with. It could be a sports team. And it definitely gets the cobwebs out and helps us with our self limiting thinking and beliefs. So, the tool that I put together, and it's available on the website at florencedonald.live/blueprint, is the Quit Brainstorm Blueprint. So I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't gone and grabbed it, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and grab it. Now, we're going to look at a practice and really dig into questions so that you're well ready to move forward and after today. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start with a couple this one central idea, and that is understanding the difference between open-ended questions and closed questions. You may have heard of this or thought about it or even used it in relationship to interviewing someone. Maybe you've interviewed somebody you're looking to hire or interviewed somebody you're looking to, even been interviewed yourself for a position, volunteer or otherwise. But how have you used this idea yourself for brainstorming? So, what are closed questions? Closed ended or closed questions are those questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. I either did it or I didn't. For example, have you hit the like button today? Either you did or you didn't. If you did, great. If you didn't, now's an opportunity for you to hit the like button. That's a closed-ended question. It has a simple yes or no. Oftentimes we'll ask people, do you like this idea? And it'll either they'll say yes or no, they'll say, no, I don't like that. That type of question limits and puts a boundary on your thinking and well as somebody else's thinking because it just puts them in a box and it doesn't leave room to explore thinking and different approaches and different points of view. So that is what I'm going to encourage you not to do. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to use open-ended question or open questions. And these are questions that we ask that they can't be answered by a simple yes or a no. They're going to require some conversation, some thinking, some mulling over, some explanation. For example, what do you think about using a guide to help you get your ideas out? Put it in the chat. What do you think about that? What comes to mind for you? So you could ask, how do I improve my process that I'm following? That's not closed ended. It's not it doesn't say, can I improve it? Because the obvious answer is yes. But how can I improve it is a completely different way, different question and type of question. So, open ended questions open us up to be creative and to think more deeply and come up with solutions that we wouldn't come up with without asking those questions. So, I'm going to ask you to be open minded as we go along and help you. So, let's look at some ways to ask these questions. And I learned this several years ago, and it was in the context of not having a person go on the defensive when I had a question for them. And oftentimes, close-ended questions put a person on defensive, even ourselves. So, first of all, one type of question you're going to ask is who? Who? Who is affected by this goal? Is it just me? Is it my family? Is it my employees? Is it my community? How who's affected by this goal, this vision, this objective that I have? Who can I incorporate to help me achieve this goal? This is all about identifying the human part, which is the most important part of achieving a dream, a goal, objective, or a project and getting to the end. The who. I will admit I have in especially in my earlier years, I would skip over this part and I would go straight to the non-people part. But I've learned the people part is the most important part because we don't achieve our goals in isolation. We don't achieve our goals by ourselves. It takes others. And if it's something that we can solely do without ever engaging with anyone else, we're thinking too small. We're not striving for a goal that's big enough. So the next type of question is the what question. The what question. Things like, what are some of the challenges I might face in working through achieving this goal? What human and non human resources are needed to achieve this goal? For example, what type of materials do I need? To work with the blueprint, you need the blueprint and you need something to write with. Those are the resources you need. So grab it, get something to write with, and if it's a PDF, so you can put it on your tablet and use I'm going to use iOS because that's what I use personally, and use your Apple Pencil and write. So if you use an iPad, indeed you can do it on a phone. You can do it in Apple Notes. You can do it in Evernote. But what resources do you need to execute? The third question is the where question. Where do I need to be? Where do I need to pull resources from? Where are the people who I'll work with located? We're in a global world today. We don't have to think just in our neighborhood or just in our family or just in the building we're in. We literally have the entire world that people can come from with the expertise, with the knowledge, with the belief that we need to support us. So where where will I implement this? Where will this idea reach? Will it reach just in my city, my town? Will it reach just in my state, my nation, my country, my continent? Where? How big can it be? How big do I want it to be? Do I want it to reach shore to shore? The next type of question is when. Mm, this one can take you out. It when because we always think we can get things done faster than we can. But when do I want to achieve this goal? When is it really important for me to achieve this goal? Is it this quarter, this year, next year, in 12 months, in 5 years? Thinking through the when. When is the right time for me to start? I didn't say perfect time, the right time. There's no perfect time to start anything. Life is always going to be happening. Struggles are going to exist in our life every day. The proverbial I got a lot going on is true in all of our lives every day. So, when is the right time? Because that then determines what are the boundaries I'm going to set to make this time work. I'll give you an example where I blew it. I blew it, but I'm resetting. I set a goal to produce a recorded video every month, every day in the month of March. I did really good for about 2 weeks. Then life started lifing, and I had not anticipated the upheaval that my schedule was going to go through. The last 2 weeks of March was a complete upheaval in my schedule. So I'm recalibrating, resetting, and I'll go back to it. I'm not beating myself up. But when I chose what I thought was the right time, something else cropped up that made it not the right time. So I'll just go back to it. And then the last one, and some people would, well, this is not the last one. There's one other one after this. Some people would say this is the first question to ask. And indeed, it is really critical. And that is why. Because if you don't know your why and you haven't written it down, obstacles, struggles, even good things. In my business, we call them risks. They can be positive things and they can be things that are not so positive. Any risk can throw you off. It can be a really great risk, quote unquote. My example, the thing that occurred in my life for the last 2 weeks was a great risk. It didn't stop me from creating at all, but it certainly impacted my ability to continue with the plan that I had set out and the goal that I had set. So why? Why is the goal important? And for me, when I said, why is this goal important? It's because I'm practicing skills. So why is this goal important? Why do I think this idea that I have will work? What am why do I want to invest the time and the resources, and time is a resource, but the other resources in working to achieve this goal? So that why question, there are it's multiple levels to going into your why, but it's really important to drill down. And the last one is the how. And oftentimes, myself included, we start with how. We start with, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do the other thing and I'm going to we start with how. We start with the activity first rather than going through these critical questions so that the activity makes sense when we get there. But the also in this how is making sure we know how we're going to measure success. What is the metric that is going to determine whether we've been successful in achieving the goal that we want to achieve? So there are 5 of you all out there. So glad to have you in the building with me today. And I want to thank you for being here. If you haven't hit the like button, this is a great opportunity for you to hit the like button and give it a thumbs up to spread the word. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel and help us grow. That's one of the things we're doing. And if you have a question, great time to start getting your questions out now so that I can answer your questions later on. So, what I'm going to encourage you to do as an action step at this point is in your brainstorm blueprint, write down these questions so that you have, you know, those questions so that you can answer them for yourself for what you're trying to achieve. Okay? Write them down, write in your blueprint so that you don't lose track of them. Don't put them someplace where you're not going to see it because this is a process that you're going through. Okay? So now that you've figured out those, there's another trick to this whole questioning game, and that is learning to write effective questions. We know what types of questions to ask: who, what, when, where, why, how. But now the question is crafting those questions so that they are really intentional and effective for what you want to accomplish. So let's talk about how do we do this? How do we come up with these questions that are effective? Well, number 1 is be specific. Write down very specific questions in those categories or those types, right? What we like the what? What very specific steps can I take to achieve this thing? Let's say you're working on a community outreach project with a volunteer organization, or your project is you want to create awareness of what you're doing. What are some concrete, specific steps you can take to achieve that outcome? Of course, we talked about using the how and the what questions. So, really dig into being specific. How can we engage with more people? How can I get more people, the who, to engage? What do I need to say to them in a way that it resonates with them, in a way that it makes sense to them? I've learned so much doing this live streaming and content creation, video creation. I'll say it that way, video creation, because what I say is geared to help you achieve a certain goal. That goal is to remove friction and be more productive. So the words I use and the language I use is to engage you in that thinking process and then to take the action. So that's figuring out how to ask the questions using how. And then this next one is Be willing to challenge our thinking, our assumptions, our status quo. In the world that I work in during in the corporate gig, assumptions are huge. When I hear people, I'm talking to someone about a project or a risk or a problem or an issue that we're facing, invariably someone will say these words, "Well, I thought dot dot dot." When I hear the words "I thought dot dot dot," I realize the person made an assumption but didn't validate the assumption. Didn't validate that the assumption was accurate or not accurate. And what we do ourselves individually is we do the very same thing. We assume, based on what we've seen and experienced, that a thing is a certain way. And it doesn't have to be, it may not be valid. So, challenging our assumptions. Why do we believe this thing that we believe? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. It's going to be too expensive. It's going to be too hard. It's going to take me away from my family. It's going to mean that I'm not going to have fun. Those are some common ones that will often stop us. But are those accurate? Have Are we just believing that based on we just believe it? Or is there something behind those assumptions that we're making? Have we taken the step to think through what these assumptions mean? And then have we taken the step to come up with alternatives or strategies to work around those assumptions or to move them out of the way? The next item is keep it simple. The blueprint, a simple worksheet that you fill out. Don't make some big complicated tracker that you've got to update every day and you're going to stop. Keep it simple and keep our wording that we put down as we ask ourselves these questions simple, worded questions, not a 15-part question. How do I know that? Cuz I can ask myself a 15-part question and not even blink. So, not making a 15-part question that it's going to take me forever and then I'm going to just give up because it's too difficult for me. It's simple. Keep it as simple as possible when we write these questions down. So, that is something that I'm going to encourage you to do. And those are steps. Learn those questions: who, what, when, where, and how. But then learn to write the questions in a very effective way and open our mind to be very creative, challenge our assumptions, and not just for ourselves, but for and with others that's in our sphere of influence, whether it's our family, our colleagues, our employees, our fellow volunteers, whoever it may be willing to engage in this kind of questioning. And this is all around brainstorming to achieve a very specific objective, vision, or dream. It's not a whole bunch of random ideas that we dump out and write down and then we don't do anything with them. This is taking something very targeted, very specific that we want to achieve and go through this process for it. Okay, so for example, maybe it's developing a new offering or a new service, whether it's in your whatever organization you're in or even in your small business. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's let me talk about myself. Relaunching your newsletter, getting it going back the way you had. I tried some things, didn't like it. I realized I need to go back to the way it was. Now I've got to brainstorm on what do I really want this thing to be because I listened to others and didn't stay true to my direction and got off course. So just choose whatever that is. choose that goal, that vision, that objective, and work through this process. So today we've just talked about how to use clear, open ended questions to guide and give you direction on your brainstorming. That is what we did today. And so I hope that it has been beneficial to you. And I see some folks out there. And why are you here, sir, Mr. Jackson? Mr. Jackson, why are you here? All right. So I see some folks out there. I want to get you guys in. And if you have a question, um, please go ahead and put a Q colon in. And I'm going to, after I greet you all, I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions. So Roy says he's not good at following directions. Yeah, you are. We're going to skip over Florence, hashtag mutination. Just saying. We're going to skip over her. Hey, Ananea, glad to have you. I greeted you earlier. So glad to have you here and glad to have you in the building, the emotional CEO, the another moderator. And Laura, your chats are showing up. I'm not sure what happened there. As long as you aren't rebooting, we are still live. Yes. And Roy, you're absolutely right. Yes or no questions do stop conversations cold. Cause it's like, where are you gonna go? Did you enjoy your school day? Yes or no? And then what happens in the conversation? Absolutely nothing. Inanea, I think a guide can help me focus on the goal. Absolutely. Go grab the blueprint and it'll definitely be a good workbook for you. Denise, you are right on time. Right on time, my friend. And then this gentleman, hello, Mr. Frank Jackson. Glad to have you in the building. But, sir, I'm going to say, get off of here. So, we do have a question, and I'm going to answer this question, and then we're not going to belabor. So, using clear, open ended questions is like solving for X. Yes, it's solving for X, and X becomes more flexible. You don't just say X. It's here's one way to solve this equation. There may be multiple ways to solve the equation. So it definitely is helpful to use that. So those who, what, when, where, and how, and then being very, very skilled and specific about how we write the questions, what questions we write is key to being effective in brainstorming. So there are 7 of you all here in the stream. I've got 5 likes. Thank you for those who have hit likes. And if this doesn't resonate to you, I understand. Or perhaps you're cooking dinner or driving and you can't. So I absolutely understand. This month is we're going to be talking about brainstorming a little bit more, digging in, and it's because we have the blueprint that's available. Let me see if I can get it, drop it in here to chat how you can grab it. And if you go there, you can grab the blueprint and use it as a tool. Again, it's a PDF. So you can either print it out and fill it in. It has some steps to follow and place for you to fill in your information. You can put it on your iPad. You can put it in whatever tool you use in Apple Notes. Indeed, you can put it in Google Docs. You can whatever you use. You can put it in Notion. It's a PDF that you can use. And the great things is it's not a one and done. It's reusable. Just clean up a fresh one and next time you have a project or a goal or an objective that you want to think through and brainstorm through, use that same framework and use the blueprint to work through it. And then now there are other steps that I haven't covered. So that's why this is going to be a month because I'm walking through some of the information to help you think about how do I apply what I'm seeing in this blueprint. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and say have a great weekend and I will see you guys back here somewhere in these internet streets or in the next video. Have a good evening, everybody.